All right, so let's get into the wide receivers. Chris Olave. Doesn't sound like this is too serious, but he popped up where people were talking about him. He was on a non-football injury list to start day one of training camp, although Dennis Allen seems to think that he might actually be on the field in limited capacity, if not tomorrow, sometime this week. So did you get any clarification as far as what was going on with Chris Olave?
No, but it sounded pretty mild and minor. And, if anything about Olave and his injury history, I'm more concerned that he has had a couple of concussions in his short career. They haven't really translated into a lot of time lost. But as we know, with concussions, they have a cumulative effect. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward with him in his career. But as far as the shoulder goes, it doesn't sound like it's anything serious.
Yeah, and just fantasy-wise, Chase, I'm annoyed. You know why I'm annoyed? I've been pounding the Chris Olave table for forever, and this is finally here with the change with Clint Kubiak. Tomato, as far as the system goes, that he is put in a position where he's going to explode. I'm all over him. I got him at wide receiver 9. I'm ready to go. And ADP is catching up with me. They got me at wide receiver 11, so I'm not even getting Chris Olave at the value I wanted to get him, even though I was going to be pumping him up high. He is my Garrett Wilson for this year when I was pumping him up last year. Like I'm all over this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You're one spot higher than me. I've got him at 10. Like I've been big on him as well. I love Olave, and I'm not even ashamed to say that and then make that pun. Yeah, really, especially now that Michael Thomas is gone. And I know Michael Thomas has not really been healthy here for the last 4 seasons, but I like Rashid Shaheed. But Rashid Shaheed is a much better best ball pick than he is a redraft pick. If you're going in redraft, there is nobody that's going to challenge Olave at all for looks in that offense. Like you said, Kubiak's offense coming over. I like what I think Derek Carr can do in that offense from a passing standpoint. And, listen, Chris Olave is a guy that we know has talent. It's there. It's evident. All you have to do is take a look at it. I agree with you, though. It is a little frustrating to not be getting what I would think would be what I would hope would be the discount on him because, nobody's really all that excited necessarily about New Orleans. But, hey,
Olave,
we got to take him where we can get him.
If anybody is an Olave doubter out there, just think of it this way. It's the offense that utilized Brandon Ayuk the way they did, except for Olave is going to get the targets that Brandon Ayuk was not getting.
Yes.
All it needs to be said. All right, here's a common guy that we talk about all the time, and he's on a common team that we like to talk about all the time, and that's Mike Williams, now on the Jets. It's very fitting. I feel like it's very fitting that he went to the Jets, I feel like. So he's got his knee issues, tore his ACL. Man, the ACL's galore. So when it comes to his ACL, what's your prognosis?
So, I mean, he tore it game 3 last season, so he should have had ample time to recover. They interviewed him not too long ago, I think last month or so, and he said he's right on schedule. He's feeling good. He's doing well. But he was also heard saying that he's taking it slow. He's not rushing it back. I don't know if he's been placed on PUP. I don't think he's going to be placed on PUP. However, I don't also think he's going to be ready and back out there week 1. I think we might see him take a couple weeks to kind of get reacclimated and get back on the field. But it sounds like everything's going well. It didn't sound like a major complicated ACL injury. So I think we should see him early in the season contributing. And he's excited to play with Aaron Rodgers, and he thinks he's going to complement their other young receiver there who you mentioned earlier.
Garrett Wilson.
So it sounds like he thinks this is going to be a good fit for him. I guess we'll see.
You know what that was right there? That was a Giants fan trying to forget the players over on the Jets. That's what that was. That's what that was. Look, with Mike Williams, the one thing I will say is that because he's coming off this injury, he's finally discounted. In fact, he's I think severely discounted. I mean, his ADP's over in the wide receiver 50, ish territory right now, and it's nothing but reward because we know what he can do when he's on the field. And the battle for the second receiver on the Jets is it's making me laugh when I read the articles and everything like that, because this is a joke. Like they're like, oh, we might run Allen Lazard out there, but no one seems to think Allen Lazard has got anything left. Yeah, we're going to get Xavier Gibson or Malachi Corley, who we're not sure what kind of role he's going to play because he's more of a tweener guy. Like, it just sounds like a complete mess outside of Garrett Wilson there. Another reason why I should be big on Garrett Wilson. But if Mike Williams is able to get going at some point, I think he could definitely give you more than your investment of wide receiver 50 in your ADP. He is at least in that position. One thing I wanted to clarify. There's something I was trying to think of. There's a difference between getting put, and Brian, you may want to speak to this. There's a difference between putting put on the training camp pup and the pup injury list that actually makes you miss 4 games. So I don't know if you want to go into detail about that.
Yeah. So I did a big article on this last year, actually, in my blog on my website. So check it out, www.theinjuredlist.com. And there's different pups. Like, so you have active pup, which is basically physically unable to perform. It allows you to basically do certain things during the preseason. You can train with the training staff. You can do individual drills on the sideline. You're present at practices and meetings. And they can activate you at any time to the roster, and you're good to go. Once you start getting toward that August 30th roster deadline, if you're not activated yet, then you get placed on reserve pup. Once you're on reserve pup, you're out for the first 4 games of the year. And the team can also opt to put you on IR, which essentially has the same 4-game absence, the difference being how it affects roster positions and roster management. So if you're on reserve pup, it counts against the roster spot. So that means you're losing a roster spot, essentially. If you go on IR, that frees up the roster spot. But then later on, you've got to make a transaction where you've got to possibly drop somebody, release them. So these are all the games that go on during the preseason. So it makes a big deal when you're looking at from a management standpoint, coaching standpoint. Doesn't necessarily change a whole lot of stuff as far as the athletes themselves are concerned and what they're doing to get ready. But those decisions will be playing out and be very important as we get closer to the August 30th deadline for the roster decisions.
So basically right now we need to make sure that we check context, though. If you hear a dude got placed on pup right now, they could take him off tomorrow if he shows up and he's good to go. Correct. But you need to make sure you know what context is. But once we get close to the season, that's when it's that first half of the season kiss of death.
The August 30th deadline is huge when you're talking about players that are potentially coming off surgery or coming off injury, haven't practiced or participated in preseason stuff. If they've been on pup, if they've just been on the injured list, guys could be on the injured list, not practice, but it doesn't mean they're on pup. That's a designation that has to be made by the organization with the league, and that's an official designation. So
I bring that up purposely because the next receiver we're going to talk about, that was the big thing for a week leading up until today, was he was on pup, but nobody knew why. Now today we do know why. It was a hamstring issue. So with hamstring issues, we're always concerned, right? Soft tissue injuries, they suck, especially when it comes to skill position players. However, being that Ricky Pearsall is a rookie and he's a younger player, what's your level of concern here with him and what they've been talking about as far as severity of the hamstring injury?
So it doesn't sound like it's too severe. He's on what's called non-football pup, and the only reason for that is because he's a rookie, so he wasn't in the NFL when his injury occurred, technically speaking, because he had come out of college or got injured at college or sometime between college and the NFL, the start of his NFL career, so he's technically on non-football pup. And basically, it sounds like he probably just tweaked something during training. They were optimistic in saying that he's probably going to be taken off that very soon. And back to practice and doing his full thing. So I think they're probably just taking him along a little cautiously, getting him acclimated to his first training camp, making sure this doesn't linger into the season. Because as we know, with wide receivers in the couple of years past, a lot of guys have dealt with hamstring injuries early in the year, and it just follows them the rest of the year. So if you can get a handle on this at the beginning, it's always advantageous to do so.
This felt like a bigger news story last week because Chase, we all thought Brandon Ayuk was going to hold out, and then he showed up to camp. Now, he may wind up holding in. That's still a possibility. He may have showed up and then find a way to hold in. I don't know what he's going to do. We'll find out. We're recording this Tuesday night. The practices all start on Wednesday, July 24th, and we're here on the 23rd. So we'll see what he winds up doing. I just thought it was kind of funny. All of the talk off season long has been Brandon Ayuk holding out. He's the one who shows up. CeeDee Lamb's out. Jamar Chase is out. Jordan Love's holding out. I'm like, all of a sudden, all these other things are going on. It's just find it kind of interesting. Don't worry. We'll talk about Jordan Love off camera. Not today's show. We got other things we got to get to, like tight ends.